Yo, what is going on, guys? Got a BT11 deck profile for you guys. I'm super excited to get into this one. This has honestly been a really fun deck to mess around with. If you guys aren't familiar with the dimensional phase set, in this set we get access to the Phoenixmon kind of archetype here. Phoenixmon is the main boss monster, and we also get a lot of new support cards for like the Birdramon, like Lion Biomon, new Birdramon, and Garudamon as well as a new Red Tamer Akiho. Gives us access to a lot of really cool plays, and I've kind of mixed it with the Marsmon stuff as well out of the new set as well, just because these end up actually working really well with the deck. So let's kind of get into it. I'll go over the cards, the choices and whatnot, and then there are actually some kind of combos or rulings I want to talk about a little bit later on. So guys, let's get ahead and get into it. Of course, for Digi-Eggs, we get a brand new Yokomon here. It's got the on deletion effect of if you have a red tamer in play, you can draw one card. So it might seem a little bit odd if you don't know anything about this deck. Why would you really care about like an on deletion effect on your egg? This like, unless you're playing a purple deck. If you notice, Yokomon is not the only one with that sort of inherited. Birdramon has a similar effect, as well as Garudamon, and that gets into Phoenixmon's whole gimmick, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So next cards we're going to talk about are the level 3s. This is definitely the best one to have. This is going to be Biomon on play. Reveal top 3 and add one red Digimon card with vaccine in its traits and one red tamer amongst them Tyrian. So it's a really powerful searcher. You're playing a lot of red tamers. Virtually your whole deck, I think, is red vaccines, aside from maybe like 1 to 2 cards. Actually, I think pretty much every Digimon aside from Omnimon is a red vaccine. So this searches basically the whole deck, which is really nice. We don't really have a lot of like attribute searchers like virus, vaccine, and data. I think this is one of the first ones we've gotten in recent history. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. But this is really strong card. So not only that, but then you've also got the inherited on deletion. If you have a red tamer in play, gain 1 memory. So as you can tell, this deck's whole gimmick is having red tamers in play. Bearmon is another one. This one works with the Marsmon line. It is useful in this deck because the whole Marsmon line is a beast type. Bearmon is a beast. And then I believe Grappleomon is Beastkin, Grizzlymon is Beast, so they work really well with this deck, and we'll talk about why later. But this guy basically, when the attack target of this Digimon switches, gain 3000 DP, so that really only happens when you're utilizing the raid keyword present on the Grizzlymon, Grappleo, as well as the Marsmons, and we'll kind of explain how that works. Biomon, 4 of it, just because it's inherited, is really good. Once per turn when this Digimon attacks a player, draw 1 card. I've talked about this. Well, I don't know if that video will be out by this time this list is out, but anyways, in one of my videos I talked about the fact that even if you switch the attack target with raid, you can still trigger this as long as you did declare an attack towards security or towards the player. So this card is just really good. And then for the champions, we're playing 3 of the BT1 Birdramon. If you guys do not know what this card is, I don't blame you, because it's basically just never been played. It has an on play of giving sec attack +1 to one of your Digimon. This is really sick, being able to play this out with Phoenixmon. And it's cool that I feel like they indirectly kind of had this card in mind when they were designing Phoenix cards. Like, shout out to Bandai. This deck is a really good example of like a 1-stack deck that just, instead of like just straight OTKing, you gain a lot of value by going into your Mega. So this card's really cool, basically letting your Phoenixmon check multiple cards. And then for the other champions, 2 Grizzlymons I talked about before, we got the raid keyword, so being able to attack unsuspended is nice, and then potentially boosting him to like 8,000 with the Bearmon is really cool. 3 copies of Birdramon. Birdramon, as well as the new Garudamon, have the exact same main and inherited effects. This one is a main effect blocker, and then on deletion inherited for where you can play a red tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying the memory cost. So just being able to play free tamers is really nice. And then probably one of the best cards in the deck, of course, just being a red vaccine that's searchable off of the Biomon as well as your tamer, is going to be Sec Attack Greymon. This card's just always going to be good, so we might as well include it. You're not really trying to OTK your opponent in this deck, or at least that's not like the only thing you can do, but if you assemble the right pieces, you can usually check like 3 to 4 cards in a single go. So this guy definitely helps out with that. One of the BT1 Garudamon, again, seeing lots of these older cards that just really haven't seen played. I think this card is pretty solid. It just has piercing, and the inherited effect is kind of cute, but you're not really utilizing that. This is something to just play off of your Phoenixmon. Phoenixmon essentially has an effect where you can play other like birds from your hand, depending on how many red tamers you have. So sometimes you can play this from your hand, and then like give it rush, and then attack and pierce into something. So Garudamon really sick. The new Garudamon, like I said, the same as the Birdramon. It has a blocker main effect, and then being able to float into red tamers is always nice. And then Grappleomon does a similar thing to the Grizzlymon. He's got the raid keyword, so 7,000 raid, and then once per turn when the attack target of this Digimon switches, you can trash the top card of your security. So a really strong effect of being able to trash security cards is always definitely really good, especially since you're like, with raid, you're giving up attacking security to attack one of your opponent's Digimon, but this effectively lets you do both by just trashing that card anyways. So let's talk about our main boss monster. This is going to be Phoenixmon. What exactly does Phoenixmon do? Well, two effects. First of all, your turn, once per turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you may activate one of this card's on deletion effects. Okay, so keep in mind that that usually implies this main on deletion effect here, but if you've got a stack where you have like your Birdramon underneath or your Biomon underneath as well, those on deletions are considered to be Phoenixmon, so you can trigger either of those inherited effects or this main one. So, Phoenixmon's main on deletion says, you may play one red Digimon with Bird, Avian, Beast, 4 Sovereigns, which is pretty cool, or animal in one of its traits, except the animal, and 3,000 DP or less from your hand without paying the memory cost. So, it does have to meet all those requirements. It must be red, it must be one of these types, and it must be 3,000 DP or lower. However, for each red tamer you have in play, you can add 2,000 to the maximum DP you can choose with this effect. So, if you've got one red tamer, you can choose a 5,000 or lower. That's pretty much all of your level 4s are lower. Except the Greymon, obviously, but that's why the Grizzlymon line works, because this is a beast, so it does coincide with the Phoenixmon's effect, so that's really cool. And then if you've got, like, let's say 2, that's 7,000, so you could play one of your ultimates, so Grappleomon or any of the Garudamons are 7k or lower. There are a couple times where if you get up to a ton of, like, I want to say, like, what is that, 4 red tamers, that would be plus 8,000, so 11,000, you could play another Phoenixmon, so that could be really cool, but throughout testing, that really hasn't happened to me. You generally have like 2 to 3 red tamers in play, but who knows, maybe this build could be altered to where you could get those out more consistently. So anyway, so Phoenixmon, really cool effect, being able to choose from one of those. So your general like main combo is just like attacking security, and then when your opponent loses security, you can trigger like this on deletion. And then the other megas, we're playing Marsmon, because Marsmon's raid ability is really good, just being able to attack unsuspended outing stacks like that. Black or Greymon's a really annoying deck, so being able to deal with their stack is really cool. He's also got Blitz, so being able to one Digivolve Blitz and Raid simultaneously is really cool. And then he has got this once per turn, when the attack target of the Digimon switches, so i.e. when you're using Raid, you can unsuspend this Digimon and then gain a memory for each red tamer you have in play. So it does definitely work with the Phoenixmon support as well. And I'm also just playing one of the EX1 Phoenixmon. This guy's actually really strong. Sec attack +1, and then when it attacks a player, draw 2. So you can just like, so if you need to close out games, you can honestly just like swing this into security, check 2 cards, draw 2, and then if it dies, of course, you got your on deletion effects. This is a cool stack deck in that you don't really care if your stack dies. Like, you're generally cheating out the on deletion effects with Phoenixmon, so you're not actually like deleting your Phoenixmon to trigger those. But if your stack does die, you actually just get like 4 effects at once, so it's actually pretty cool. So there's a lot of times where you just like honestly prefer your stack to die. But anyways, Blitz Omni, finish off games, and then option cards and tamers. We got 3 red memory boosts, pretty standard. 3 copies of Tide to give us that extra sec attack. 3 copies of Akiho, being able to reveal the top 4 cards of the deck. Add 1 red Digimon card with Vaccine in its traits. So again, it searches the entire deck, including your Greymons, as well as your Marsmons and stuff. And then your turn when you play red Digimon with Bird, Avian, Beast, 4 Sovereigns, or Animals. So again, the same types that were specified in Phoenixmon. So when you play one of the Digimons, you can suspend her to give that Digimon rush for the turn. So that is really, really cool. A lot of times you can just swing into security, check one, and then Phoenixmon effect, play like another one of your, like level 4s or 5s, maybe play Grizzlymon, raid into one of your opponent's Digimon, stuff like that. So it's really, really cool. Other just good red tamers, Taikari for gaining memory, and then 2 copies of Analog Youth to finish it off. Really good as a consistency card, but also if your stack does die, you just plus even harder from that deletion. So anyways, guys, that's the list. Let's go ahead and talk about some combos. So to do that, I'm going to hop over to tabletop. I've got a couple of things I wanted to kind of mention. So first of all, generally speaking, like let's say you've got some sort of Phoenixmon stack like this. So you got Phoenixmon with a couple of like on deletion inherited. So we're going to be talking about Birdramon and Grudamon. Okay, so there should be some things you guys know if you're planning to play this deck, and relating to like when this your turn once per turn effect can be triggered. Okay, so there might be a situation where, let's say, you're playing against your opponent and then you are swinging into security, and then what you can do is, you'll check security if you've got no one attacking effect. So I'm just going to get into security check. The security effect of a card revealed in security always happens first. So Izzy Joe here says to just play it without paying the memory cost. Boom, we're going to give that to our opponent. And then because of the fact that our opponent lost the security, we can trigger the your turn effect. This is a pending effect, so it will happen before, like, let's say if my opponent like if this had sec attack +1, like let's say if we had tie in the field, so this will reveal, security effect will happen, this will play, and then we'll trigger the Phoenixmon to play something from our hand before we get the second check with tie. So that's actually really important. So one thing you can do, a couple things you can do is, so let's say we swing security, our opponent plays this, and then we're going to trigger this Phoenixmon effect to play something. We use that first on deletion to play a red Digimon with bird in its name. So since we've got one red tamer on field, we are going to be able to play 5,000 or lower, so I'm going to go ahead and play the Birdramon from my hand for no cost. This is still before the next security check would happen, and since the newest effect is going to be this Birdramon on play, we're going to trigger that to give our Phoenixmon sec attack +1. And then what will happen is, now that the battle has concluded, we will then perform another security check because of the fact that this Phoenixmon has 2 sec attack. So it'll go ahead and check the second card here. Okay, and if you guys are confused about that, so here I've got the attack flowchart pulled up, and what I wanted to point out is that this point right here, checking security, is where we would be at if our Phoenixmon is attacking security. So let's say we attack security, we check the security. If the checked card has a security effect, it triggers, and right in here, right after that, is going to be what happens when you have a pending effect or an effect that resolves as a result of your opponent losing security. So something like Purple Kari, something like Wargreymon X, something like Phoenixmon as well. So then you're going to trigger Phoenixmon's effect to trigger an on deletion, and that happens after a security effect triggers. But keep in mind, it does actually happen before the battle of a security Digimon. So if that Digimon is a security Digimon, it'll actually happen before the battle. Battle occurs and the battle effects happen. And then note this last box that says if you're allowed to check further security with abilities such as security attack +1, then you return to the security check security step. So in that scenario that I just showed you, where Birdramon gives the Phoenixmon the extra sec attack, that happens up here, and then the actual checking for the second sec attack happens down here. So it's much further down the road. So long story short is that if you play a Birdramon off of the Phoenixmon, you will get to check 2. Similarly, if we go back into tabletop, another thing you could do is, instead of doing this one, like let's say you're going to swing security, and then our opponent reveals this, Izzy Joe, and then we play it for free, and then we're going to trigger Phoenixmon's effect to play the tie. And then because tie was played before that final like end of battle step where you would check for another sec attack, then we still we have a sec attack +1 at this point, so you will then check the second card because you do have a sec attack +1. So that's a really cool way that this deck can like unexpectedly give out multiple sec attacks. Being able to just like promote your stack by itself, swing, play a tie, or I guess swing, check a security, play a tie, and then check the second security is really, really cool. And another thing I did mention was what happens when you are battling a Digimon. So in this scenario, let's say I had, this Phoenixmon. My opponent has this Galacticmon in security that has 14,000 DP, so definitely bigger than me. So I'm going to go ahead, swing into security, and then reveal the security card. So the first thing that would happen, if it has a security effect, it would trigger. It doesn't. Then pending effects happen, so then I can actually trigger Phoenixmon. So let's just, for this scenario, choose to trigger the effect of like Garudamon or something, just to play Tamer. So let's just play Tai, and then after that the battle will happen. So then the battle will happen. Phoenixmon will die because I'm weaker, but note that I actually did get to trigger Phoenixmon's effect before I battle. It's the same scenario with Wargreymon X. Wargreymon X, if it does battle something higher than it, it will still gain the memory before it dies. Now the scenario where this doesn't happen is if you have, like, again, like an option card in security that would kill you guys. So let's say I'm going to go ahead, swing into security. Security check is going to be Ultimate Flare. The first thing that happens is security effects activate this card's main effect. So we're going to de-digivolve the Phoenixmon by 3. And then we can delete something with all Digimon with play cost 3 or less. So then the Biomon here will be deleted. So in that scenario, the only effect we would be able to resolve is this on deletion underneath the Biomon, but none of the other effects of like Phoenixmon or anything would go off because the security effect happens prior to that. So guys, those are the main like kind of rulings I did want to mention. I apologize if this was long-winded, but I thought it was cool enough and important enough to share with you if you're looking forward to playing this deck. So anyways guys, that's going to do it for this one. Let me know down in the comment section below if you're looking forward to playing Phoenixmon, because honestly it has been a breath of fresh air and a really fun deck to mess around with. But anyways guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.